You're listening to the I'm Busy Being Awesome podcast with Paula Engebretson, episode number 280. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you? How are things going? I just got back from an incredible trip to Philadelphia for an ADHD conference, and I had so much fun. Now, when this episode comes out, actually, it'll be a bit later, but in real time, as I'm recording this, I just got back from Philadelphia. And since I know many of you listening were also at the conference, I just want to pause here for a minute and say how awesome it was to actually connect with you in real life. It was so incredible, so much fun. You're all busy being awesome. I love it. Now, despite the actual event being so special, I'm not going to lie, it did not positively sway my thoughts when it comes to travel and packing. However, I had some experiences on this trip in regard to travel and Airbnbs and all the things that'll be a story for another day. But I got to tell you, when it comes to obstacles with an ADHD brain, packing and travel definitely go toward the very top of my brain's least favorite things to do. There is so much extra demand on our executive functions during travel and trying to pack all the things and know how much we need and being able to anticipate ahead of time. I mean, it is just not my favorite thing, not my favorite thing to do. With that being said, as I reflected on the packing process and the experience generally, one thing that I realized is that the experience has become, Bruno, honey, lay down, honey. He's doing that thing where he scratches on the bed to make it just right. Can you hear this? I wonder if I can show you. Bruno, you're making noise over there. For all of you on YouTube, you just saw behind the scenes. I, of course, just completely distracted myself. So as I was saying, I was reflecting on this packing process, and there was one aspect of the experience that has become significantly less stressful over the past few years. And that has been deciding what to wear and what to bring when I'm traveling, and then just generally deciding what to wear from the day to day. Okay. So I can remember in years past when I'd be packing for a conference, like a musicology conference or a film and media conference or whatever, I can remember just staring at all the clothes in my closet, some of which I liked, most of which I did not, some of which went together, most of which didn't. And it was such a constant headache trying to decide what to bring, what to pack, because nothing actually mixed and matched together. Nothing really went together. So I was always bringing so much stuff. And again, same case on the day to day. I would look at my closet. I didn't really know what went together. I don't have an eye for that kind of thing. And it was really a struggle trying to decide what to wear. I, frankly, wasted a lot of time staring at my closet. And as you all know, wasting time, also not one of my favorite things. Seriously, for years, I would stare at my closet. I'd feel super overwhelmed, super frustrated because nothing looked right together. And I would end up wasting, again, so much time trying things on, mixing and matching, wishing I was one of, quote unquote, those people who could just easily throw an outfit together. My sister can do this. She's so good at it. But let me tell you, I am not one of those people. That's okay. I could learn if I wanted to. But truly, my inability to know what actually, quote unquote, worked, it was very clear. And it became especially clear actually in 2019 when I started coaching and teaching webinars and running my business on Zoom. You know, when I'd go back and edit a training or edit some sort of webinar or something, I would notice that there were some days where the outfit, quote unquote, worked, and other days where I looked completely washed out. I'm like, where are you? You don't, you're disappearing on the screen. And I had no idea why. Or I'd see a colleague of mine coaching online, right? A fellow coach, and I loved the outfit that they wore. So I would buy it thinking, oh, well, it looks great on them. That means it'll look great on me too. And surprise, surprise, most of the time it did not. And so I was, again, wasting time, being so frustrated, throwing away money because I wasn't actually wearing the things that I bought. And I would just sit here thinking, this shouldn't be so hard. Why can't this just be easy? And if you can relate to any of this, if you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed by the process of shopping or what to wear or the sheer number of clothes you have, or it seems like you can never find anything that really works for you, or maybe you have one or two pieces and you have no idea why those work, but nothing else does, you are in the right place. Because today, what we're going to talk about is one of my favorite ways to really reduce the friction when it comes to shopping and putting together outfits, especially for the ADHD brain, who often feels a little bit at a loss when it comes to this entire getting dressed process altogether. I mean, of course, I can put clothes on, but I do not have an eye for putting things together that actually look good. Okay. So the solution that I want to offer today essentially helps to cut down on decision fatigue. It saves us a bunch of time. It allows us to use our executive functions on the things that we care a lot about. So what is it that I'm talking about? What is this strategy? The strategy or the approach, the scaffolding is getting a color analysis. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, or if you do know what I'm talking about and you're like, Paula, what on earth does this have to do with ADHD and productivity? Stick with me for a minute, okay? Before you switch to the next episode. Because if you are someone who struggles with knowing what to wear or dreads shopping, or you put it off because you can never find anything and it seems like a waste of time, or on the flip side, maybe you just buy a bunch of stuff. You do a lot of online shopping and you buy stuff hoping it will work, and then you maybe wear it once, or maybe it's still sitting in your closet with the tags on, because it just doesn't work in the way you thought it would or the way it looked on the influencer on Instagram or whatever. If any of this sounds familiar, if you ever feel overwhelmed about what to wear, what to buy, anything in that realm, this episode is for you. Because when we learn our color palette, it becomes this game changer in simplifying both shopping and deciding what to wear. And then, of course, because I've alluded to this a couple of times, I think the best part is that it frees up so much more time and cognitive energy, which allows us to spend more time doing the things we want to be doing throughout the day. So today, we're talking about why I think knowing our colors, getting that color palette, doing a color analysis is so effective for an ADHD brain. Why I think it's such a powerful tool to help us simplify our wardrobe, boost our productivity, seriously, and then spend both less time and money wondering what works. So you have more time living your life. All right. So with that in mind, let's start by talking about what it means to actually get a color analysis, why I think it is truly so powerful. So first of all, getting a color analysis is essentially, it's discovering the specific color palette that looks best on you, okay? And broadly speaking, there are 4 different categories which align with the 4 seasons. So you might be a spring or a summer or a fall or a winter. And then within those overarching umbrellas of the 4 different palettes, we have more nuanced characteristics for each one. For example, I'm a cool winter. Okay. So essentially, it's discovering the color palette that works really well for you, that makes your skin glow, and that really features you rather than kind of washing you out. And everybody has a set of colors that objectively look great. Okay. And when we can identify them, it's, first of all, just so much fun and also so powerful. Now, I know it might sound kind of superficial on the surface. I do hear that, okay? Some of you may be thinking, Paula, seriously, what? Why? What are we doing here? Why are we talking about clothes and colors? And the answer, my dear friend, is because I don't actually think it's superficial. Also, my brain. So my brain just jumped to that episode of The Office, the US office, when Michael Scott says, well, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious or whatever. My brain just went to, this is not superficial. In fact, it's not even a little stitial. Okay. Bringing it back. This is, y'all, I did not have my transition time after flying back from Philadelphia. I flew back on Sunday. It is Monday, which is podcast day. So my brain's a little bit jumpy today. That's what's happening. Welcome. I did not have my transition day that I need. So here's the deal. ADHD overwhelm is real. And it's very real for many of us when it comes to shopping and deciding what to wear and deciding what to buy and all the things. Also, rejection sensitivity can be paralyzing, worrying about what other people think with what we're wearing. Decision fatigue can absolutely stop us in our tracks. Impulse online shopping, combined with our unbelievable battle with getting a return back to the UPS store on time, that can put us right into credit card debt. But when we can put supports in place to help us reduce any of these experiences, I am all in. And that's where I think the color analysis can really play a powerful role. Okay, so let's talk about this more specifically. First of all, when it comes to the different benefits of getting a color analysis, I think first and foremost, it helps us say goodbye to decision fatigue. Okay, we already make so many choices throughout the day, what to eat, what to prioritize on our to-do list, whether or not to say yes or no to this offer or that request. Again, we have no shortage of decisions throughout the day. And if you are anything like me, adding what to wear on top of all those other decisions can feel a bit like the tipping point. And again, this is where knowing your color palette can be so helpful, because when you know what that palette is, it's like having this magic filter that does so much work for you. Instead of staring at all of the clothes in the store or scrolling endlessly online trying to figure out what might quote unquote work, you're only looking for your specific palette of clothing. And the endless options that are available suddenly narrow to a much more manageable selection. So you're no longer overwhelmed by all of the different choices with your brain going, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. No, it does. For me, if I'm a cool winter, I know I'm looking for gem tones. I'm looking for cobalt blues and jade greens and royal purples and navies, right? I know that those are the colors I'm looking for. So it's just a matter of spotting the items that are actually in your palette, and you can ignore the rest. Again, I am a cool winter, so I know that I want those gem tones. I want raspberry and sapphire and jade and purple and then black and navy and charcoal gray. Okay, those are like my colors. So this means that I can easily and happily ignore essentially anything else. I don't need to look at browns or warm reds or corals or oranges or yellows. Honestly, they all look terrible on me. I look super sick. And knowing this allows my brain to not even think twice about them, both online shopping and in the store. I just don't even think about them. And I feel like I should actually show you a difference. So for those of you watching on YouTube, I am going to try and do a split screen of how things look when I am wearing my colors. So right now I am in a really bright, it's like color crayon blue sweater. Okay. And then I had to go into Ryan's side of the closet. I'm going to put on like an orangish burnt orange. What is that hanging over there? I don't know. I'll put it up. I'll wear that too. I'll try and do a split screen so you can see the difference between the two, because Ryan, I believe he's a summer and I'm a winter. So we have very different color palettes, and I'll show you the difference of how it looks with one color versus another. Okay. So here's the difference. You can see that one leaves me looking a little bit more washed out than the other, right? One leaves me looking a little bit more blah. And maybe you don't see that. Maybe it's all in my head. But what I can tell you is I feel better in the blue than in the burnt orangish, brownish, whatever, the warm tone, right? Okay, let's go back to our single screen. I am telling you, this has saved me so much time, so much mental energy, which, let's be honest, I would rather spend on so many other things. Now, as an aside, I do want to say that if you love spending time on this stuff, okay? If you love thinking about clothes and what goes together and everything, amazing. That's incredible. Keep on keeping on. Okay, please don't think that I'm saying that thinking about clothing and fashion or something isn't a good use of time. No, okay, if you love to do it, that is what actually matters. Okay, for example, I can guarantee you that most of you listening do not spend nearly as much time as I do thinking about yarn for the next project I want to crochet. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's a bad use of my time. I want to spend my time doing that. In fact, I would rather spend my time thinking about yarn than thinking about what type of clothing would work in my wardrobe. I would rather spend my time somewhere else. So as always, remember, don't use what I'm sharing against yourself. It's only ever here for you. It's only ever here as support. Okay. So if thinking about clothing and what goes together and colors and all of that is super fun for you, have at it. I love it for you. And for those of you like me who don't really have that natural eye or tendency, it's not a full body yes to spend time thinking about what works really well together. I am telling you, knowing your colors is the best cheat code. Okay? Because instead of sifting through every single item in the store, you're just on a lookout for your handful of colors. And as we know, as ADHD brains, having fewer decisions to make can make the entire experience so much more enjoyable. Now, the second reason why I love knowing my color palette is that it allows for quicker, more intentional shopping. Okay? Knowing your colors, it's not just cutting down on decision fatigue, it's also making it so much easier to intentionally shop for what you need. If you think about it, how often have you walked into a store or you saw someone else wearing something super cute and you're like, oh my gosh, I need this in my life right now. So you order it or whatever, it arrives and you realize, oh, hold on, that does not make my eye color pop like it did on my friends or whatever. And it doesn't actually work with anything I own. Well, that's great, right? But on the other hand, when you know what colors make you glow, make your eyes pop, it's easier to walk away from those tempting but ultimately unhelpful items that don't actually match and don't actually work. Okay? So you're much less likely to buy impulsively those items that just collect dust in the closet or that get lost in the return pile, eventually adding to our ADHD tax. Okay? Shopping becomes much more purposeful because you know what you're looking for. You're confident about what works for you. Because when we come from that approach, we're no longer spending all of this time thinking about what might work or making these kind of mental excuses for why, well, maybe I'll wear that mustard yellow sweater someday. You won't, unless that's in your color family. Okay? Instead, we're choosing the pieces that really fit with your wardrobe. And that means less wandering around in the stores or filling up and abandoning shopping carts online, and more time doing the things you want to do and more money probably in your wallet because we're not impulsively spending. The third reason, I have 5 reasons, by the way. Third reason is that it creates a much more streamlined wardrobe. When you have a color coordinated wardrobe, essentially everything gets so much easier because instead of facing the dreaded question of, oh my gosh, what do I even wear with this? What goes with what? You instead have a closet full of pieces that just naturally mix and match together. Everything works because it's all within the same color palette, the same family of colors. And that makes getting dressed in the morning so much easier, so much more simple. When we have that smaller wardrobe with intentional choices of colors that all work together, it means fewer but better matched options. You're no longer rummaging through all of the different clothes trying to find something that kind of works. Instead, you can confidently pull out a couple of pieces. You know they're going to look great together, and you can focus on literally anything else as you go about your day. And again, for those of us who do struggle with decision making or getting overwhelmed by thinking about all the different choices, this streamlined approach is so much more impactful. Reason 4, building on that, is a reduced clutter and waste component. Okay. I think one of the biggest perks of sticking to your color palette is the way that it can help reduce clutter and waste. Because let's face it, impulse buys happen to most of us at some point. And if you're more prone to them, like I am, knowing your colors can be really effective because, as I mentioned, most of my spur of the moment purchases ended up pushed to the back of the closet, unworn, and then forgotten because they weren't in my colors. And I just didn't know it. I was like, I don't know, it looked really cute, but now I put it on now that it arrived and it looks terrible. Well, maybe I'll wear it later. And of course I don't, because it wasn't in my colors. But once I started knowing my color palette and sticking with it, it was so much easier to make the choices that I actually love to wear. So that means fewer clothes piling up that don't get used. And then over time, again, it's saving both space and money because my wardrobe is intentionally filled with carefully chosen pieces that are easier to organize, easier to maintain. So we're cutting down on that clutter. And then the 5th final reason, there's probably more as well, but this episode will get too long if I keep going. 5th reason is all about identity and confidence. This was kind of a surprising one for me, but I noticed that when I got my color analysis done, I was having a much stronger sense of identity in my style and my confidence overall, right? It made me start thinking, hold on, I do know what looks good. I know what I want to wear. When I'm working within that cohesive color palette that actually works for me, it's kind of like creating a signature look that I really love. And let me tell you, as someone who masked for much of her life, feeling like I always had to hide who I was never comfortable as I was, having that sense of identity and style that I knew works naturally for me felt really grounding and reassuring. It's one less thing that my brain had to question or second guess. I could just trust it. And that helped me feel more secure in my choices because I knew, no, these work. I know this works. Now, I'll be honest, there was a bit of growing pain here when I first got my analysis because I just had a lot of thoughts about wearing really bold gem tones. Essentially, I wore black. If I was feeling really adventurous, maybe navy. Black and navy is what described my life essentially from middle school all the way through high school, college, grad school, academia as a professor until a couple of years ago when I finally got my colors done. And then I got my colors done and they're like, you should wear bright pink and blue and purple and green. And my brain's like, oh God, really? And it definitely felt like a stretch. But once I started wearing them and once people went, oh my gosh, you need to wear that color more often. And I realized that I had this cohesive color palette and everything went together. It all just fit. And it helped me to show up with more confidence knowing that. All right. So maybe you're listening to this. Maybe you're curious about what your color palette is. Maybe you want to look into getting a color analysis so you can reduce the cognitive load on your brain. Where do you even start? I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of options and a simple step-by-step so that you can get started as well. I will say that I worked with a company called Created Colorful, and I loved working with them. They were phenomenal. I will link to them in the show notes. In fact, I loved working with them so much. I actually reached out to them to see if I could get an affiliate code because I essentially recommend them to everybody. So if you do want to give this a try and work with them, I highly encourage you to do so. It is so fun. You can get all the information in the show notes, or you can head to I'mBusyBeingAwesome.com/colorful, okay, to get started. Also, if you have a birthday coming up or with the holidays coming up, if you're listening to this in real time, this could be a fun thing to put on your wish list. Okay? Super fun. I just want to mention that as well. And also, if you just want to dip your toes into color analysis, I do know there's a couple of different apps out there as well. I've played around with some of them just to see how accurate they are. I gotta be honest, they are pretty hit or miss, at least the ones that I've tried. The one that was more accurate than not was called Color Analysis Dressika, Dressika. I will link to that in the show notes as well. But again, from my own experience, the apps don't really capture the nuance. And in fact, with all of them that I've done, I've been told I was every season except spring. I was told I was fall, winter, and summer, and different flavors of each. But when I did my more in-depth color analysis with Created Colorful, I got really clear and I'm a cool winter. Okay, so if you just want to dip your toes in and kind of see what it's all about, there are some apps. I will link to one of them at least that I had some luck with. But I do think that working with a company, whether it's Created Colorful or another company, can be the most eye-opening, the most supportive. Okay. Now, either way, I'm going to kind of talk through the overarching experience to get your color analysis so that you know generally what to expect. Of course, there's probably differences between companies, but I'll share what it was for me going through and working with Created Colorful. So the first step is to actually just sign up, right? Kind of book the consultation. And it's really straightforward. You sign up and they send you the information of what they need. And then you have about 30 days to complete the process of taking a bunch of selfies, essentially. And I found that as an ADHDer, having a deadline was super helpful. Otherwise, it would have been one of those things that I could easily just kind of keep putting off and do it, quote unquote, later. But because I had that deadline, I was able to make it happen. And honestly, once you get the information, I recommend that you ride the momentum wave and take those pictures right away. That's what I did. It was way easier. I've done this again. I did it with another company as well, just to see how that one went. And I put it off. I did not ride that wave of momentum that was there initially. And it took a lot more effort. I had to really build an on-ramp to get started. So if you sign up, ride that wave of momentum right at the beginning. When you get that information, take those pictures. Okay. So that's step 2. You take your first round of selfies. These do not need to be fancy. Okay. Literally, you stand in front of a window and take some pictures. So Created Colorful, they ask for photos. It's just natural lighting, right? So you stand in front of a window or outside in shade. You don't want to be in direct sunlight. Some sort of neutral background. And you don't want to have any makeup on if you are a person who wears makeup, okay? Or if you're a glasses wearer, take off your glasses. And this really allows your natural skin tones to shine through so that they can know which season you are. Again, I highly recommend doing this right after you get the email when your motivation train is still high and you're super excited. Similarly, if you have a friend or a sibling or a partner who wants to do this too, it could be a really fun body double project as well. Okay. You could literally take the pictures together and they could bring all of their different color swatches over as well. Because essentially when you're taking your pictures, you hold up different colors. Created Colorful sends you a list, like hold up blue to your face or hold up purple to your face or whatever. And again, I had black and navy in my closet. I had nothing to hold up against my face. So I had to kind of search through Ryan's side of the closet to find actual color to do the analysis. So if you have a buddy or something to do this with, they can bring over some of their colors, and it's always more fun when someone else is doing it with you. So after you take those pictures, you then send them off. And the team will look at them, and then they might request a couple more to kind of fine tune their analysis. That happened to me. It was super simple. I just took a couple more shots with a few other colors to help them make sure that their analysis was spot on. I sent that back. And then step 4, you get your final color analysis. They work their magic, and then they reach out. You get this in-depth color palette analysis with your season and your subtype, right? Like I'm a winter, but I'm a cool winter. They tell you which colors to really highlight, and they include shopping recommendations. They link to different shops and stores where they have your color. So whether you're a warm summer or you're a cool winter or what have you, they have resources so you can start looking and seeing what that really means. And it just takes out all the guesswork so you can just get that inspiration and start building your wardrobe that aligns with your palette. Okay. And then the last step 5, is to implement. Use what you've learned. Now, go slow. Choose a few pieces. Okay. Speaking from experience, beware of the all or nothing thinking here. Full disclosure, again, speaking from experience, I immediately went to everything that's in my closet that's not a cool winter is no longer wearable. I have nothing to wear except like these two pieces. And then luckily black and navy are in my wardrobe. So I was able to keep those. But if you notice this, if your brain's like, what? No, I can't keep any of this. It's all terrible. No, not true. You can go slow. Okay. Just add a couple of pieces. Now, how do we make the most of this analysis? What can we do to really use it in our lives? First and foremost, I think one of the easiest ways to help stick with our colors is to create some sort of cheat sheet that you keep in your phone. So Created Colorful, they send you this beautiful email with all the different colors and everything. And so you can just take a screenshot, and I keep that in my phone. I have it starred in the photos album so I can easily refer to it anytime I'm out shopping and I know which colors look great, right? I just kind of keep it there. It's my little cheat sheet, my personal shopping guide for when I am out shopping. You can think of it like that built-in filter, right? So it can help reduce that impulse buying, make it a little bit less tempting. And then also, like I said, experiment with one piece at a time. There's no rush to just do a full wardrobe transformation, okay? Start with one or two pieces within your new palette. Maybe it's a scarf in a shade that you really love, and you gradually add in new pieces. You can get a feel for what works, for what you really love, and notice how you feel when you're pulling on those colors in your palette. This approach gives you space to experiment, to see what you love, to notice how much you're actually wearing these new colors compared to others. And you'll find it easier to incorporate your palette into the daily outfits and discover which colors you feel really work for you. And then finally, one of my favorite ways to make the most of this analysis is to share my color palette with anybody who might buy me clothes at different times as gifts. Okay, so I shared it with Ryan because birthdays and holidays and whatever, maybe he gets me a sweater or whatever. I want him to know what colors. It makes it easier for him too. Or my family, for Christmas, we draw names. And so I will just include the color palette in a list. We draw names and then we usually create some sort of a list of like, here are some things that I want or whatever. And I'll include my color palette there. It makes it so much easier for other people. And they know that what they're getting is something that I'll actually love and enjoy and will wear, which is a win for everybody. All right. I know this was a slightly different topic from usual, but I really wanted to share it with you today because I know I'm not the only one who has a brain that slips into overwhelm when it comes to shopping and clothing, deciding what to wear and what to pack and all of the things. Okay, so in today's episode, we explored how getting a color analysis and knowing your color palette can really be a game changer in terms of helping us reduce our decision fatigue, to make quicker, more intentional shopping, to streamline our wardrobe, to cut down on clutter and waste, and to boost our confidence and our sense of identity. And if you are interested in trying this for yourself, I do highly recommend working with Created Colorful. They offer this comprehensive analysis that includes your palette and your knockout colors, and they make shopping recommendations to help you get started. And as I mentioned, because I loved working with them so much, I reached out to them to see if they had any kind of affiliate or promo code or anything. And as an aside, it was a reminder that it never hurts to ask, because now I do have a code for all of you busy, awesome listeners. And for all the details, you can head to the links in the show notes or go to I'mBusyBeingAwesome.com/colorful and start simplifying your wardrobe game. Start saving more time and love what you're wearing in the process. In fact, I'm going to read a direct quote from the founder of the business. Her name is Lindsay. On her website, she shares, quote, "It seems like a superficial thing to wear clothes that highlight you. But for me, it's been a surprisingly emotional and spiritual endeavor. The world tells us we have to change who we are to be worthy. Color analysis has helped me see that I am worthy and beautiful exactly as I am, and there are colors that reflect my beauty effortlessly." It's one of those things where if you know, you know. You just have to experience it for yourself, and I can't wait for you to know. Okay, so that's what she shares on her website. And If you give it a try, I would love to know as well. Send me a message over on Instagram. I am at I'm Busy Being Awesome. Let me know your color palette. Let me know how the experience went. I cannot wait to hear about it. All right, my friends, that's going to do it for us this week. And don't forget, if you also want to streamline your holidays and focus on what matters most for you and your loved ones this season, be sure to grab my holiday season blueprint. It is packed with over 70 pages of resources and guides so that you can shape the season to work best for you. You can grab it now through the link in the show notes or head to I'mBusyBeingAwesome.com/holiday blueprint, all one word. Also, do you know someone who would love to learn more about simplifying their wardrobe and make shopping easier and knowing what to wear a breeze? If so, would you be a rock star and share this episode with them? You could even buddy up and do the color analysis together. Maybe you send this episode to them in a text message or snap a screenshot and share it on your Instagram stories. Whatever you do, please know that I so appreciate you for tuning in and for helping me get these strategies to even more busy, awesome brains who need them. Until next time, keep being awesome. I'll talk with you soon.